Your Cincinnati Bengals found a way to win again. Their sixth straight game. They are now 10-4. Remember, they started off 0-2, meaning they have gone 10-2 since that point. Feels like years ago now. I mean, the confidence level you have in this team, despite the injuries that seem to be mounting up, we can talk about some of the depth players behind them. This team looks good, and they're finding ways to win. They're reaching down and figuring it out, even when things look really bleak. If you're on Twitter, follow me at Joe Goodberry. But also, we went through some moments, I think, during this game where people were ready to burn it down and freak out and just go on to the next week. And guys, have we not seen this before? Were we not here last year? Were they not down 21 and 17 multiple times and found a way to claw back versus better teams and get back into it? This is Bengals on the Brain. I'm Joe Goodberry, part of the Cincinnati Bengals Talk YouTube network. And yeah, your Bengals did it again. It's pretty amazing, actually. But we're going to talk about the defense for a little bit here, because I think that was what jump-started the comeback. At first, the first half, I'm like, they don't have an answer. But I also thought they would get back into it. So when I was tweeting these things, people said, well, why did you think they were going to get back into it? Because I really didn't divulge my thought process. What they were showing in the first half was what they thought the Bucs were going to run throughout what they showed throughout the year. And you could just man up with them, and they're really not going to give you a lot of eye candy play action. That's why Romo was going so crazy about, look at all the play action, look at all the motion. It's because they don't do that stuff, like the least in the league. You can just line up and play them face to face. The Bengals had that plan, and they didn't deviate from it. They didn't, all right, screw it, throw this chapter out, throw this game plan out. Let's go back to doing what we normally do, disguising a little bit more and dropping more guys into coverage. The Bengals stuck with it, to their credit, and I think when I saw that, I'm like, they're gonna flip this. They always do in these type of games. They're just gonna go and say, all right, now we'll throw it out at halftime, and just almost like they have two game plans, right? We'll do this, and if it doesn't work, we'll run this, and you guys got to be ready for both. And they would like to wait to halftime to do it, which is fine because you're only down 17 points. Luckily, they got a missed field goal out of the Bucs as well. So when first drive, man, they pull the cord, and you're like, they dropped 8 in the coverage on third down. Bucs are punting. The next drive, they drop an 8 in the coverage again, force a turnover, Trey Flowers, and it's like, as soon as I saw these plays, I'm like, they're going to be fine. They're going to come back into this as long as the offense can get their game together. So we're not going to focus on the negative in the first half, because I just thought that's like rock, paper, scissors. They got beat. The Bucs did a great job showing something completely different than what they normally do. Probably good for them for the year, to be honest, for the rest of the year. They may have a chance in the playoffs if they draw the right team. But to focus on the Bengals, because that's what we do here, let's look at the defensive side first and the plays they started creating, the adjustments made, how they start to make everything look the same and do multiple things out of that one look. And then they show what they did last time and give you what you thought you were getting to play before. Doesn't sound right coming out of my mouth. Let me just show you right here. Bengals needed a defensive adjustment coming out of the half. They're going to show man coverage on this third down with a potential blitz coming up the middle. I think Brady's going to actually believe a blitz is coming here. The Bengals only rush 3, drop 8 into coverage. We've seen this so many times over the last couple of years when they need to, pull out that last card. They seem to pull out drop 8, and Trey Flowers makes a tremendous interception on the play. And you can see Brady points out Von Bell as the Mike. Pick up him as the fifth guy, as the potential blitzer. They believed he was blitzing, and he even pointed at Trey Flowers. I think maybe he might have thought both those guys were coming. It's a bad throw, but Flowers does a great job from his area. He's on more of the flat boundary underneath of the outside receiver, and he sees once that hook is happening right in between he and Bell, again, those two guys, he undercuts it, slides, and makes a tremendous interception. That is an A-plus play for him. I thought he had a really good game overall. The next turnover is a very similar look. We look like we're potentially sending a blitz again in man coverage. And this time the Bengals are going to play man coverage, and they're going to send a fifth rusher. So it's a little bit different. We're going to show you the same thing and either change it post-snap or actually go with it. And are your guys going to be ready? So he's pointing out right now, Logan Wilson is the Mike. He's the fifth guy, center. You've got to pick him up. So what's Wilson do? Acts like he's going one way, comes back the other, allows DJ Reader to tie up that center, and now you've got a free rusher out of it. This is a tremendous rush. plus the forced fumble. I don't know if it was Reed or Wilson, doesn't matter. They both deserve credit on this play. And where does Brady want to go? I think Apple's got his guy locked up, and if he wants to go down to the running back, Bates is screaming down and getting hit coverage on his guy. Really good play by those two as well. Just tremendous. It only works if they all do it and all do their job. The big turnover, I think this one pretty much ended the game. This is the Jermaine Pratt interception, and he's been on absolute fire. Couldn't believe he even picked this thing off, man. I was with the announcers. I didn't think it actually happened. But as you see here, I want to focus on the left side here. Joseph Ossai and B.J. Hill are going to stunt. This is a tackle end stunt. So B.J. Hill is going to get the attention of the left tackle, run into him, grab him, whatever you got to do to allow Ossai to come back inside and beat a lesser player. This time it's the center again. And watch DJ Reader. He's got to collapse the pocket and push Brady up the middle and into Ossai. And then just a crazy interception right there. Shout out to this ref right here, though. He's the one who sees it. Look at him. He all the way. He was like, "Yep, I saw that play." And one last final, almost turnover play. B.J. Hill here as he reads Brady's eyes. This is very similar to Joe Burrow's tip passes, right? But he reads them, and he is within inches, maybe a full foot, of just intercepting that and walking into the end zone. Big games out of Trey Flowers, B.J. Hill, DJ Reader, Joseph Ossai stepping up in Trey Hendrickson's absence. Cam Sample had to step in for Sam Hubbard. Hubbard looks like he's lost for the regular season now. We'll see if we can get him back for the postseason. We don't know when Hendrickson will be back. Is it 2 weeks? Is it postseason as well? Depth really getting tested at end, but those guys made enough plays to stay in this game. I think the safeties, again, are playing tremendously. I think Von Bell, Jesse Bates are really playing well lately. I know people are still frustrated with Jesse Bates, but you got to drop it because I think he's playing really well, especially against the run. If he would have picked that ball off, I think on the first drive, this game probably doesn't even get out of hand for another quarter and a half. The little things like that, where he's not as sharp as he was 2 years ago because he would have picked that off, but he's still really, really good, and it's the reason why you see these corners not getting beat as much, not to blow too much smoke up the safeties. Dax Hill had to play. He had to play, safety again here. He's playing nickel corner, but they got to rotate some extra stuff. I wish I got a few plays in here. I tried to cut them down. I had to cut some things and leave them on the cutting room floor. And I'll probably post those on Twitter, what they did with Dax Hill. I thought it was interesting. It wasn't just, hey, you replace Hilton. Even though they do some of these things with Hilton, they thought, we've got an extra safety over there. We could rotate and disguise some coverages in the second half, and Dax Hill can drop into the deep third or deep half and play safety as he normally would. So it was interesting to watch that. I thought he had a decent game. Coverage is still, I think he's grabby, and I'm not sure about him turning his back to the ball, so I don't think he's a full-time corner still, but if you need to step in, that was fine. So what did the offense do to respond, to complement the defense? Because even after the first punt and turnover in the second half, they were just getting field goals. And then they scored and missed a two-pointer, which I think that two-pointer we can use in a later date. We'll probably recall that because I think they've got an option route for Boyd off that, and they'll probably come back to that. Here's what the offense did. Here's how they figured it out, especially in the red zone. And I liked what they did because they simplified it. They did a lot of easy things in terms of make sure we got extra protection. There's my Bengal calling me, if you could hear him. Make sure we have extra protection. Limit the guys running routes. Try and isolate our guys and let them beat their corners, which they did right here. The Bengals finally get a touchdown on the board, and it's T. Higgins to get Joe Burrow's first touchdown pass of the day. They have two receivers going routes, basically just two long crossing routes, trying to tie up the middle of that defense off of play action. And he finds T. Higgins open on the right side. And what I want you to see here is the Bengals are going to keep a lot of guys in the block for Burrow. It's going to be play action, so there's going to be 7 guys blocking. Even probably, you could count, mixing a little bit here. But if you watch on the right side here, the defensive backs, you'll see the traffic and the confusion this causes. 24 tries to get over the top and maybe even pick up Higgins. He almost even knocks his guy off because his guy goes underneath, which slows him down and leaves T. Higgins wide open. The next touchdown goes to Tyler Boyd. You got Bengals crossing on the right side with like a slant flat. They're going to double Jamar Chase on that side. You got a slant on the left side. They're going to double T. Higgins. So the only guy with one-on-one is going to be Tyler Boyd. And as he runs, he's got kind of like leverage to go to the corner, and then he breaks it off inside or flat line, I guess, towards parallel to the goal, which gives him the leverage now back inside. And again, the Bengals are going to keep pretty much everyone in the block. Just let these 3 guys do their thing. Joe Burrow's going to say, okay, I got one-on-one with Tyler Boyd. He just has to win a little bit of space in his route and hit him on the sideline, which he does. Nice time play. The next one for the triplets is going to be Ja'Marr Chase, and the Bengals are going to use pre-snap motion. It's not just the Bucs using pre-snap motion, Tony Romo. The Bengals are going to do it here in order to say, all right, we got zone coverage. As he goes in motion, the boundary corner now has to take Tyler Boyd, which means the boundary corner's got to leak out a little bit towards the boundary a little bit more, leaving the safety one-on-one with Ja'Marr Chase. Burrow sees it quickly, feels it, hits Chase, lets him just walk into the end zone, basically. But the real confusion happens off of the motion by Tyler Boyd. Watch the two linebackers. The really good veteran Devin White and Levante David linebackers. They're supposed to shift over. They're confused on who is supposed to take who there, and they're looking inside. Meanwhile, no one's closing that window on Ja'Marr Chase. It's just too much for that safety to be able to cover him. And the last touchdown is for Mitch Wilcox. And Bengals are going to use motion again. Devin Asiasi is going to run a flag route. Wilcox to the flat. The motion shows it's going to be man coverage, and we get play action with a lot of protection up front for Joe Burrow again. The man coverage is key because if you watch Asiasi, he gets a nice clean release, jumping inside. It means that guy's trailing. I actually think that's probably the easier throw, but when you got a guy in the flat, you just take it. That's an easy throw as well. I really like the way Asiasi sneaks inside here. It gives him a nice clean release from the safety 32 who realizes really late, like, oh, 45's not going to pick him up. I got to jump on him. Meanwhile, Wilcox does a good job blocking, holding it long enough, and then releasing very cleanly, and then running after the catch. Nice score for him. Somehow the offense scored 30 again. You know, if you would have told me at halftime how many points, I would have said this may be like a 21-20 type game where the defense flips the script in the second half, holds the Bucs to a field goal, and the Bengals figure out how to get a few touchdowns on the board and win by a one-score game. They just got really efficient in the red zone, and they could have been even better. I thought Burrow was okay. I actually in the first half thought he was rough. There was a few things where he didn't read the right coverage, and I didn't want to focus on those plays because overall he's playing well in the second half, but it reminded me of the first few weeks where they just weren't sure, not really trusting the O-line a little bit, but he quickly got that out. Like, that's the mark of a good player. That's Andy Dalton lets that carry throughout the game, right? Joe Burrow can cut it off and say, all right, I know what they're doing now in the second half, and we can adjust, and he can play like his normal self, and I think he did, and he probably would have had an even better game. A couple of dimes down the right sideline. One, Ja'Marr Chase gets his face ripped. The other one, I thought Chase complained to the ref, but I actually thought Chase should have caught the one where he kind of falls into the end zone at the, right at the front. So it could have been a much bigger numbers-wise game for Burrow. Still, we're talking about 4 touchdowns and still a pretty efficient day considering you're not going to get any explosives when you're starting half your, or if not most of your drives, especially in the second half, in the opponent's territory and deep in their territory. So, overall, got to be happy with the way they rebounded. Got to watch the running game. Not sure if they made adjustments in terms of shifting back to more zone stuff or if it's just what the game called. It'll be something we'll monitor going forward. Got the Patriots this week. Still a tough defense, but they really can't do anything on offense. I think the Bengals should be pretty comfortable there. We'll watch those pass rushers, Judon and Uche, both really good rushers. Good test for these tackles. So I think Jonah's playing really well lately, and I'm starting to get concerned about La'el Collins again as a pass protector. So it'll be something to really watch there. I've got one other play because I want to show this. It's a play that looks, probably you won't even notice it. It was a check down to Joe Mixon. But I think we'll come back to this. I think the Bengals wanted to test to see what the defense would do, and maybe they pull that out again in a week, 2 weeks, maybe even a month, maybe in a playoff game. So here's that as we end this week's Bengals on the Brain. I am Joe Goodberry. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. If you like this video, hit the thumbs down if you hated it, because some people do, and that's okay with me. You still watch. So we'll see you next week. Enjoy this last clip. We'll see this play again, I'm sure about it. The Bengals were up by 2 scores at this point, and I wonder if they ran what looks normally like their RPO slant here, and where they normally would read this middle linebacker, and if he bites on the run, they'll just hit that slant over the middle. It's the one they got the ball tipped on in the first quarter, right, and it turned into an interception. But they like these plays because it allows everything to look the same, and you can get the option for Burrow to run it, pass it,
throw a screen. He's got a lot of different things built in. There's the window right there if they wanted it. And I wondered why you didn't take it at first on live view. And this is a good pickup by Mixon. Could have been bigger if he made that guy miss. And I thought maybe they're actually putting that safety in a bind once I saw the tape, because I see how he wanted to jump up on that and how Chase is running down the field. And I thought, they're setting this up for the future. They want you to jump on this RPO, get that safety out of there, and maybe that's why Burrow hesitates right here and reads a little bit longer than normal, I think, once he realizes he's going to pass. Like, this knee buckle is like deep throwing type of stride with that front foot, and I think it's coming soon.